Thank you so much. The gratitude to the Center for Historical Studies for inviting us, superannuated teachers, to be part of this memorial meeting. And there's very little I can add to what, beginning from Romila and down the line to Niladri and Indivar, what all they have added. My memory goes back to 1977 when Ravi Vasudevan, Mukul Manglek, P. Sainath, with many luminaries in our batch. We joined the center. It was post-emergency, and as Indivar rightly said just now, he used the word benign presence. That's the strongest sense I have of him, that, we looked up to Romila, Bipin, we were a bit afraid of Gopal, but KN was the person whom we connected with, and we could go to him for all kinds of issues. We could even complain about, whom we thought were some of the teachers, for what we saw as their, wrongly I suppose then, but as a kind of intellectual arrogance. But KN was somebody whom would always listen. And I remember one day walking home with him, and I asked him, I said, Professor Panikkar, I never called him KN, and sir was impossible in JNU and CHS to call anybody sir. But so I said, Professor Panikkar, when do you write? When do you work? You spend because he was one person who spent a lot of time in the center and meeting. And he said, I get up at 4 in the morning and I read and write, particularly write, from 4 to 9. That's my time. And that was something which has stuck with me over the years. I get up only at 9, but I think like other JNU students, I still have this sense that you need those 5 hours in the day as me time, as time to read and write. It's just that we do it in the night. About his course, I just wanted to add one small thing. So much has been said about the course on history of ideas. What struck me most as a young student, and I was coming from economics, was that he completely transformed what we expected what might be a standard sort of history of the social reform movements of the 19th century into a course in which 2 things stood out. One, Mridul has already mentioned, looking at some of the very well-known figures like Ram Mohan Roy, completely inverting that image of an Anglophile, a Western modernizer, by taking us through the Persian, Arabic, Tuhafatul Muwahhidin, that whole phase. The second, which still stays with me somehow, is how this very sort of high idea, if I can call it, I can't call it high politics, but this idea of, the high intellectual sphere of Bengal, the way he just very lightly, completely punctured that idea of the Bengal Renaissance, in the sense of it being this very Bhadralok affair, and gave to us this, I still remember the quintessential figure that stood out in the whole 6 months that he taught this course, was a very, when I say small, I mean an almost unknown school teacher from Borishal, Ashwini Kumar Dutt. He was, as it were, the hero, KN's hero of the Swadeshi movement. I I also did the course on imperialism on China with him. And later on, when I was researching on the colonial state and nationalism in the last 2 decades of empire in India, I found a lot of the insights I got from that course on the nature of China as a semi-colony, and that whole distinction with India, which was a classic colony in the Irish sense, that came in very useful. And I remember going back to some of the readings on China and going into this. I just wanted to end by just mentioning that when I was in the last, 2 weeks or so that we've been all thinking about KN since he passed away, what comes across to me very strongly is a person, a scholar who is probably what he did was, and many of you today have pointed to that, he took the first step forward in many areas, whether it was culture or agrarian history, and moved on. And then others followed in his footsteps to take those areas forward. I'm not going to talk about that in detail here at all. Maybe at some point, I think all of us, as Romila always says whenever we meet her as students, that what we do owe it to ourselves and to the center is that we all write down whatever we remember of those days. So that, I think, both about KN and about the center, this would be a small appeal from this forum here, that is the only way I think that the legacy and the history of those days might, remain in these times when, quote unquote, rewriting history or decoloniality is the buzzword. Thank you so much.